wanted to film a little bit of our story of our baby girl's birth and everything that has happened since. On September 28th, I went in for my regular doctor's appointment. At the end of your pregnancy, you have to go every week. And it was a Thursday, and I went in. And the night before, I had FaceTimed my mom, and she just said that she wanted to come with me to my appointment. And she had never been to a doctor's appointment with me. And it was my 39-week checkup. So we went in, and they took my blood pressure. And the nurse said it was a little bit high. And she got my doctor. My doctor came in and ended up sending me to labor and delivery to get some blood work done and see what was going on with my blood pressure, why it was high. And so we went up to labor and delivery, and they took my blood work and took my blood pressure again and kind of monitored me for a little over an hour. They ended up sending me home that night with a blood pressure cuff and just asked me to check it a couple times a day, and if I got any high readings, to call them. And so that night I went to my parents' house, and Jerry and I spent the night over there. And I had good readings at night. The morning I woke up, I had a good reading. And then my sister and I went to Target to run some errands. I just needed a couple things before the baby came that I wanted to grab. And then we got back, and I felt kind of just out of it. Felt really, really, really exhausted all of a sudden. I was gonna make myself some lunch, and I just felt really lightheaded, short of breath. So I was like, oh man, I should probably take my blood pressure because I feel like it's not good. And I took it, and I think it was 150 over 92 or something. And so then I waited 10 minutes to see, maybe I was just overdoing it. Maybe I just needed to sit down for a second, catch my breath. Took it again, and I think the read was even higher. So then I called my doctor's office, and they told me to come in and go back to labor and delivery and be observed, get my blood work done again. So my mom and I went to the hospital, and I think within 45 minutes of being there, my doctor said she doesn't feel comfortable with me going home today, and she wants to induce me because my blood pressure was still high. And so I felt really scared, and my whole pregnancy I was very afraid of giving birth. Kind of my whole life I just had this fear of giving birth. And so when she said that I had to be induced, I felt pretty afraid. I did not want to be induced. That's definitely not what I wanted to happen. And so I called Jer, and I said, they're inducing me. You should probably come. And he left work right away, stopped at our house, grabbed some clothes, grabbed the baby bag. I didn't really pack a hospital bag for myself, but I did pack hers. And so he grabbed the baby bag, some clothes, and he was there within 30 minutes. And they took me into a labor and delivery room. I was definitely afraid. They had to use a balloon, which is not fun. It's very painful. And that had to be in for 12 hours before they hooked me up to Pitocin and broke my water, and really the whole process started after that. I was pretty adamant about wanting to go unmedicated. So I really, really, really wanted to do no epidural. It was just something that I decided when I was pregnant that I really wanted to try to do. But I did not expect to be induced. And being induced does make labor more intense, and it makes it a little bit more uncomfortable. And so I had the balloon in for 12 hours and without any medication, worship music playing, and my family was there. My mom and my husband were in the room with me, and my grandma, my whole labor. And then I had some of my family come in to just visit with me for a few minutes. It was all pretty bearable. It was definitely very long. And then at around 18 hours, I looked at my nurse and I was just said, how much longer could I potentially be in labor for? And she was like, it's probably gonna be at least another 7 hours. And I was like, oh man, I cannot do another 7 hours. I was so exhausted at this point. And so I looked at my mom and I was like, I feel like I should get an epidural. And at this point, my blood pressure was really bad. And they were concerned about the baby. And they said that an epidural normally makes your blood pressure go down. And so I was very afraid to get the epidural, and everyone had to leave the room, and I had to be alone with just the doctor and 2 nurses. But it was way better than I thought. I worked myself up a lot for it, and it was no problem. Didn't feel anything. It didn't hurt at all, and afterward I felt very good. It definitely helped me, my body calm down, my blood pressure came down a little bit, and I could relax, finally. I had been so tensed for so many hours that I felt just a relief in my body, in my muscles, and could just take the weight off a little bit. And then it was another 7 hours before she came. So I'm glad that I decided to do that. I think I would have been absolutely exhausted if I would have gone the whole 25 with nothing. And so at 5:55 p.m. on Saturday night, beautiful baby girl Selah Rose Turner was born, and she was very alert, very awake right when she was born. They put her on my chest and she kind of lifted her head up and her eyes were wide and they looked right at me, and it was very surreal. The whole entire labor and delivery, we had very peaceful, beautiful worship music playing. And so when she was born, the lights were off and worship music was playing, and my mom and my husband were there helping deliver her, and my doctor was amazing. And my doctor has very strong faith, and so she was singing along to the worship songs, and everything was just very peaceful and beautiful. And so when she was born, they put her on my chest, and she was very calm. She wasn't crying that much. She cried a little bit, and it was very gentle, sweet little cry. And her eyes looked up at me. She was very awake and alert, and it was very beautiful. And I have the most fond memories of that day. And then around 9 or 10 o'clock that night, everyone left, and it was just me, Jer, and the baby. And they had taken us to another room. It was all just very surreal. And we had a good night. She slept very, very good the first night. And then the next day, my blood pressure was still bad. And I had a condition right at the end of my pregnancy called preeclampsia. And it's a condition that your blood pressure is very high, and it can affect some of your organs. And so they were watching out for it, and it's fairly rare that it continues after delivery, but for some reason for me it did. And so they were observing me very closely, checking my blood pressure every hour, and it caused a lot of anxiety and panic and fear for me, because I just did not expect to have to be worried about myself during labor and delivery. I just really expected to be worried about her and making sure that she's okay and taking care of her. And the last thing that I ever thought would happen was that I would have to be concerned about myself. And so it was very stressful, and it was something that I couldn't control. I couldn't help that my blood pressure was high. No matter what I did to try to lower it, it didn't really work. And so we stayed on Sunday, and then we stayed at the hospital on Monday, and my doctor came, and I asked if I can go home, and she let me go home with medication to help regulate my blood pressure. And so we were able to go home Monday night, and it was wonderful and lovely. And then my mom stayed with us that whole week at our house and helped with the baby throughout the night, so Jer and I could get some sleep and I could heal. And it was such a blessing having her, and I feel so grateful. She was with the baby all night and would just hand her to me to feed, and then take her right back and put her to sleep and calm her down, and take care of her at night so that I could take care of myself and my body. And I think that really helped me heal. I've been off my blood pressure medication now for about a week, so I only had to take it for 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks, which was a huge blessing because I was expecting to have to take it for 6 weeks. And so I think that first week of being able to rest and get some sleep and really just relax and feel safe helped my recovery time a lot. And the past week and a half, we've been adjusting, trying to figure out how nights are gonna be, and figuring out how to just do life with a newborn. It's, everyone says that it changes your life, and you don't sleep and you don't get time with each other in the way that you used to, and your life is just not your own anymore. But I like this life much better with her in it. I am tired and nights are sometimes hard, but it's so much more joyful in our house. And we're just so happy and content. And I love this side of life. I feel like it just is beginning right now. And I just feel so grateful that God got me through every single one of my fears, every single thing that I was so anxious for, everything that I was scared to do. He was right there and got me through it. And I have been listening to this worship playlist that I made while I was in the hospital every single morning with her, and there's just so much peace in our home, and so much prayer, and so much worshiping, and I just feel so grateful that she's here, safe. At the beginning of my pregnancy, I wasn't sure if she was gonna make it. There was a complication really early on that was just very scary. And I remember the night. I remember the night I was most afraid in March. It was around my birthday. I think back to that night when I was just so scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how my pregnancy was going to be. And now I'm here with her today, and we're so happy. And she's so perfect and healthy and wonderful, and has passed every single test with flying colors, and everything about her is just perfect. And I just feel so grateful that in the waiting and the worry and the fear, he was working so powerfully. And he's been so good to us, and I'm so grateful that we get to be here today with her. And it's just all I can do is worship. And thank you to all of you who have prayed for this baby girl since day one. Thank you for all of the messages and the prayers throughout these past couple weeks. I am beyond grateful for my community and my church family, and we are doing so good. And so I hope you enjoyed our little story, and we'll see you soon.